Hello and welcome to News Epicenter with me, Ayushman Singh Jamal. Breaking news coming in. This is in connection to the Kerala gold smuggling case. We're getting exclusive details from the Enforcement Directorate. Now, as per sources, the Enforcement Directorate has filed a rejoinder in the Supreme Court against the Kerala government. These are the details we're getting in as we speak. Remember, the Enforcement Directorate had sought the transfer of the trial in the gold smuggling case from Kerala to Karnataka, claiming a free and fair trial is not possible in Kerala. We have exclusively accessed the rejoinder affidavit. The ED says that the state machinery turned against the agency when the role of the Principal Secretary came out. Now, let's get you the details of the affidavit. As per the Enforcement Directorate, sabotaging the probe will vitiate the fairness in the trial. Now, that is what the rejoinder of the Enforcement Directorate, that is what the Enforcement Directorate has told the court. Now, it also says the state machinery has been misused against the agency and its officers. It also says interference of the state was arbitrary and unfair. It also says there is a clear attempt by the high-profile accused to influence the case. The agency also says that the accused have made false and frivolous complaints. That's the big piece of breaking news coming in when it comes to the entire Kerala gold smuggling case, when it comes to the investigation of the Enforcement Directorate now pointing a direct finger at the state government in Karnataka. I'm joined by my colleague Ananya Bhatnagar, who's getting us this big piece of breaking news. This is a CNN News 18 exclusive, ladies and gentlemen. Ananya, give us the details, decode for us the Enforcement Directorate's argument.
Well, remember that the Enforcement Directorate had knocked the doors of the topmost court of the country seeking a transfer of the high-profile Kerala gold smuggling case. And now another rejoinder affidavit has come in from the Enforcement Directorate opposing all of the impleadment applications and the counter affidavits that have been filed by various accused into this particular case, and also importantly, the state of Kerala. Now, what the ED has to say in its affidavit clearly is the biggest charge that the Enforcement Directorate, the central probe agency, is making is that as soon as the name of M. Sivasankar, the IAS, the former principal secretary to the chief minister of Kerala, his name came up into this particular case, the state of Kerala stopped cooperating with the central probe agency and in fact tried to thwart this particular investigation, tried to influence the accused and the witnesses into this particular case, which is very, very clear from the various statements of the police constables who were actually used in order to thwart Swapna Suresh and other accused person into this particular case. And we have seen the discrepancies in the statement, and the Enforcement Directorate's affidavit also goes on to say that if at all this probe is not transferred from Kerala to Karnataka, then what will happen is the investigation would be sabotaged, the probe would be thwarted, the accused would be influenced, and the investigation's purpose to deliver justice would completely go out of hands. And in fact, that's the reason why the Enforcement Directorate is actually seeking for a transfer of this case to Karnataka. Remember that various high-profile names also of the Chief Minister of Kerala's somewhere or the other connection is coming up into this particular case, and the Enforcement Directorate is leaving no stone unturned in order to complete its investigation and to bring out fairness into this particular case. Remember that Swapna Suresh too is an accused into this particular case, and the Enforcement Directorate goes on to say that all of these witnesses can actually be influenced, they can be thwarted, and the investigation into this particular case can be completely derailed if at all this probe stays in the state of Kerala, and that's the reason why this should be transferred to Karnataka. Ayushman.
Right. Thank you, Ananya, for getting us that big piece of breaking news. So, the Enforcement Directorate knocking the door of the top court of the country, claiming sabotage by the Kerala government. We'll continue to track all the developments which are coming in, but let's shift focus, where India hosted a special meeting of the UN Security Council's Counter-Terrorism Committee in Mumbai. Now, this is the first such meeting of the organization since its establishment in 2001. It's a symbolic meeting for India for two main reasons. First, India is the chair of this council, and second, the assembly is taking place at Mumbai's Taj Hotel, one of the sites of the 2008 terror attack. Now, the committee members began by paying homage to the 2611 victims. Foreign Minister S. J. Shankar took the opportunity to call for justice. He hit out at the UNSC for inaction and added that India has unfinished business as the masterminds of the attack are still free and protected by Pakistan. Jaishankar said that while one terrorist was captured alive, prosecuted and convicted by the highest court in India, the key conspirators have not been punished. Also in attendance was US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who sent an indirect message to China for supporting terrorists at international forums. This comes as China continues to block international efforts to designate terrorists based in Pakistan. But amid the different diplomatic maneuverings, what will it take to punish the masterminds of the Mumbai terror attack?
We have endeavored to bring the masterminds and the perpetrators of this attack to justice. This task remains unfinished. Therefore, the coming together of the UNSC's Counter-Terrorism Committee to this venue is both special.
As we mark 14 years since the horrific attacks of November 26th, we join people in India and around the world in mourning the lives lost.
On the debate tonight, we're joined by Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow of the ORF, Vishnu Prakash, former diplomat, and Kamar Chima, defense analyst all the way from Pakistan. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us on CNN News 18. Mr. Sareen, I'll come to you first, and that's the big question when it comes to this entire meeting that has taken place in Mumbai, this symbolic meeting that we have seen in Mumbai. Is this pure diplomatic optics from your perspective?
Look, I think it's good diplomacy. It's certainly optics. It certainly gives salience to an issue which otherwise people are apt to forget and brush under the carpet because of political exigencies. So it's good that we are highlighting the issue. It's good that we are holding a session like this in a place where a dastardly act of terrorism, an egregious act of terrorism took place from the Pakistanis. Which they are still in denial about. And I think it's important that we continue to agitate the issue that, over 160 people were killed in that particular attack. And yet justice has still not been delivered. Most of the masterminds, two of them have been booked under, completely different charges of terrorism finance. But they haven't been booked under the charges on which they should have, which is indulging in terrorism in India and indulging in mass murder. And I'm talking about Sajid Mir and Hafiz Saeed. But the Pakistanis have done what they always do, tried to act very clever, booked both these guys under terror finance charges. Nobody knows what those cases are. Nobody knows what was the evidence which was produced. No, these guys, can you imagine, they've been booked under terrorism charges, terror finance charges for 15 years each. And yet they haven't filed an appeal. Can you imagine that anybody doesn't file, even that damn terrorist Ajmal Kasab filed an appeal. And these two guys have not filed an appeal. This was simply because, they wanted to show to the FATF. And this was one of the conditions of FATF, that until and unless you show successful prosecution, your name cannot be taken off that list. So they showed successful prosecution. Now the appeals will be filed and those guys will be scot-free. So I think these are games which have been played, and I think it's very important for India to use this opportunity to highlight the shenanigans of the Pakistanis as well as of the Chinese.
Right. And Vishnu Prakash, we are seeing the tilt of the United States, the latest tilt of the United States towards Pakistan. And it's the game they've always been playing. But beyond optics, does India truly have diplomatic muscles to make the conspirators of 26/11 pay?
Greetings. India has to keep trying, and that is what we are doing, because it is a crime against humanity. You have to name people, you have to shame people, and hope that the countries do realize that this selectivity in terms of picking and choosing who is a terrorist, which organization is a terrorist, which is not, will end one of these days. It may not happen early, but it will happen eventually. The fact that the comprehensive proposal for the Comprehensive Convention of International Terrorism is also hanging fire since 1996 shows the approach that countries have towards terrorism. I mean, China is aiding and abetting it. US is selective. Even let's take the case of Hafiz Saeed, who carries a $10 million award on his head. Now, instituted by the US. US has the capability of picking a needle from a haystack. Hafiz Saeed cocks a snook at everybody, goes scot-free. So there is a gap between what countries say and do, but we have to stay the course because we have been facing this scourge of terrorism for 40 years. We have the ability to defeat it within, but international cooperation is required to root it out.
Right. And Mr. Cheema, over 5 dossiers to Pakistan with evidence not only linking Hafiz Saeed, but even Pakistan army officials to the terrorists who carried out that dastardly attack against India. Do you maintain that 26/11 was not plotted in Pakistan?
I think when it comes to the dossiers, Pakistan has been giving the same dossiers to the United Nations when it comes to the Kulbhushan Yadav's terrorist activities in Pakistan, one thing. Secondly, I think what I find from Indian perspective right now is that when Pakistan came out of the FATF grey list and the Americans and the international community has realized that Pakistan has done enough technical lacunas which should have been plugged properly, where we needed certain legal measures, where we needed to put Hafiz Saeed into the jail, all have been done. Now the international community stands happy and all that, and now Pakistan is not going to fulfill the unnecessary, illegal and a strong wish list of India, because the world doesn't rotate and revolve around India. India is a powerful country, no doubt, but I think the frustration in New Delhi is very clear with Dr. Jaishankar. Wherever he goes, he's not happy with the Pakistan-US relations. Pakistan is getting closer with the United States. This is what the Dr. Jaishankar doesn't like. I think every country has its own bilateral relations and we should respect. So I think the world has realized this propaganda coming from the Indian government that we should call Pakistan a terrorist country. I think this is fading out and you are late. And Pakistan has given such kind of dossiers to the United Nations and even to the P5 before. So you are giving dossiers, we are giving dossiers, but we are just fighting with each other. Nothing concrete is there, and Pakistan is out of the grey list. So I think Pakistan's case has been heard. India's wish list cannot be honored because this is coming for Prime Minister Modi's political gains. He believes that the more he will come up with such kind of things, that will give him such kind of a political incentive that may raise his maybe global profile. But in reality, it is Pakistan which fought against terrorism. Pakistan gave 70,000 lives. Pakistan lost $120 billion.
I'll ask you again, Mr. Cheema. I know you're giving me the standard line from Pakistan, but I'll ask you again. Do you maintain 26/11 was not plotted in Pakistan?
Well, how come this was plotted in Pakistan? And I think if certain individuals have done something, they should be punished. Every Tom, Dick, Harry, if someone is doing somewhere, that doesn't mean India has killed terrorists. Pakistan has killed terrorists. The terrorism has been a global phenomena worldwide. So every country has participated and eliminated terrorist groups. So sometimes Pakistan even gave intelligence information when there were to be attacks in India. So I think here, when it comes to the terrorism, this is a common menace. Let's fight it together rather putting fingers at each other and getting nothing out of it.
Right. Sushant Sareen, how do you react to that pitch coming from Pakistan? We're out of the FATF, get over it. We are not the hotbed of terror. The world has recognized that. Let's fight against terror together. That's the message coming in from Pakistan.
Well, I react with all the contempt that such talk deserves. I don't think there's anything else I can react with. This kind of denial we've seen it for decades now. So there's nothing new actually coming from these people's mouth. The kind of dissemble and deception which they indulge in, it's very well known. And it's not as though the West does not know it. Pakistanis are acting as though now that they've come out of the FATF, this is going to become another Switzerland. Money is going to start flowing in. These people are bankrupt. They are going down the tube very fast. So that thing is not going to help them. It was a political tool by the so-called civilized West, which is anything but civilized. And as Mahatma Gandhi said, Western civilization is a great idea, but it's simply not civilized. And these people have actually made Faustian bargains with terrorists, which continues. We've seen that in the past. We see it now. The Brits, for example, will mollycoddle the Pakistanis so that the Pakistanis don't do terrorism inside Britain. The Americans will mollycoddle them because they have their own agendas, to push and plug. both inside Afghanistan as well as in other parts of the world. So I think we have to recognize that in this war on terrorism, this whole nonsense of global war on terrorism is just that, it's nonsense. If we have to fight terrorism emanating from Pakistan, then we have to carve out the tools, whether military, covert, overt, you name it. We have to carve out those tools to eliminate terrorists, because that's the only way forward. We are not going to get any cooperation from the Pakistanis. We've tried it in the past in good faith when there was a joint anti-terror mechanism made. And you know what used to happen in the joint anti-terror mechanism? To test it out, we gave them information of a particular terrorist in Karachi. You know, and we were monitoring what was going to be happening. And when these guys went out there, they actually leaked the information. The terrorists had left the place and they said, you know, we carried out a raid and there was nobody out there. So these are the kind of games they've been playing with people on, you know, how they've been backing terrorists, they've been supporting terrorists, they've been protecting terrorists. Even today, the kind of protection which is given to people like Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar is unparalleled. Even their prime minister probably does not get that kind of protection. So they are willing to take on the rest of the world to protect the terrorists, which means that they still see terrorists as strategic assets. They are not going to give them up. And those strategic assets will therefore have to be taken out with other means. I am very clear in my mind that that is the way forward, because, you know, otherwise you can continue indulging in diplomacy and all of that is part of the game. But ultimately, you will have to do what the Israelis do to take out terrorists.
Absolutely. And Ambassador Prakash, I want to take that perspective from you, that as Sushant Sareen is pointing out, beyond the diplomatic dance, because India has to contend with other powers which tend to support Pakistan in this entire game, be it China, be it the United States, and diplomacy ends up becoming a zero-sum game. Are military options, like what the Americans did with Osama bin Laden, the only option?
Well, everything needs to be tried, and nothing can be ruled in or ruled out. You try the diplomatic route, you try bringing pressure, you try to encourage a country, howsoever obdurate it is, to see reason. But yes, at the end of the day, we all know that when it comes to national security, when it comes to defense, the only country that will help you is you. We have to do the heavy lifting. And for that, we have to have the ability of doing what we need to do. India's credentials are very well known. We are not a trigger-happy country, but national sovereignty has to be defended, will be defended, and every tool that is available, every means that is available will be employed to safeguard national interests. That is the right of any country.
Right. And Mr. Cheema, let's go back in history a bit, where I still remember that Pakistan spun that narrative that Kasab was a Hindu terrorist. You pointed to the Hindu kalavat, like the one I'm wearing on Kasab, and said he was a Hindu. Then it turns out that he's from Faridkot. Is the status quo in Pakistan, you're saying you're taking action against terror, is the status quo in Pakistan that you will protect the assets you use against India, even if they cause havoc in your own country?
Well, I think Pakistan's approach towards Kashmir has been very clear, and I think...
I didn't ask about Kashmir, I was asking about your own country.
I'm talking because this whole issue revolves around this particular dispute. What else is between India and Pakistan if there is no Kashmir? So my approach is that we do not support any kind of militancy. We will not let our soil to be used against India, and we expect the same from India. We still have Kulbhushan Yadav, Commander Kulbhushan Yadav in our custody, which is still in Pakistani jail.
I don't think that there is any point. It's a dialogue of the deaf.
So yeah, absolutely. Because I asked you a very simple question about using terror as strategic assets. You're talking about Pakistan, Kulbhushan Yadav. I'm asking you a very simple question.
Yadav is an Indian terrorist with us.
Tell me one thing. Was Kasab a Hindu terrorist, or was he an asset from Faridkot?
Kulbhushan Yadav. Is Kulbhushan Yadav not an Indian terrorist in Pakistani custody? His wife and mother visited Pakistan. So don't call, okay, and if a terrorist, Indian terrorist in Pakistan, okay. So if a person has been caught in India, he's a Kashmiri or whoever he's a Pakistani. Stop this double game and blame game. We gave the dossiers to the international community. We told them.
You just want to choose to believe that Kasab just never existed. That he just showed up out of nowhere. He wasn't from Faridkot. 2611 was not perpetuated by Pakistani assets. I mean, in the sense, I ask you one question, you go into Kashmir, Kulbhushan Jadhav, and I think this is the dance that we end up playing when it comes to dealing with Pakistan diplomatically. Vishnu Prakash, I'll give you the final word. While America continues this push for its own geostrategic interests, which it has done for decades, no matter who's been in power, be it Democrats or Republicans, what are the risks if India increases its own military responses when it comes to dealing with terror assets in Pakistan?
See, nothing is cost-free. Absolutely nothing is cost-free. It's a decision that we have to take. Time and again, India and Pakistan have come very close to what you do not want to do. When 26/11 happened, I think we were just the action would have been taken, could have been taken, should have been taken when the Indian Parliament was attacked. But there is a limit to patience. And I guess, with Pakistan, it's a dialogue of the deaf. There is just no point talking to them because they are in denial. God bless them. Let them do what they need to do. We should do what we need to do. And it will be done because that's the only way to deal with Pakistan.
Right. Let's leave it at that. Sushant Sareen, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash and Kamar Shiva, thank you for joining us on CNN News 18 and giving us your perspective. Hopefully next time when we speak to a Pakistani analyst, they can actually answer the questions instead of giving us that entire propaganda trail that Pakistan continues to push. But let's shift focus now to another point of contention. This is taking place from the state of Karnataka. The Karnataka government is conducting a survey of all the Arabic schools in the state. The decision comes 2 months after the state government ordered a similar survey of all madrasas. It was revealed that over 600 madrasas in Karnataka do not fall under the jurisdiction of the education department. Now the state government says they have received complaints of poor education standards in these schools. They say that students are not at par with others and important subjects like science and maths are not even a part of their syllabus. Is this a move towards a larger reform or is this a pre-poll pitch?
At a time when the Karnataka government is being accused of saffronizing education, the Mumbai government has taken a big decision. Around 200 Arabic schools, mostly in northern Karnataka and the coastal districts, will be regulated. The government's reasoning is that a recent survey revealed that students in these Arabic schools are not being taught subjects like science, math and English, and hence they are not able to catch up with other students because they are not getting a proper education.
Asked our commissioner, assistant commissioner to go through it, and whatever the doubts we had, it had been proved in some of the schools. After getting the reports, we will take action.
But the Arabic schools, which are registered with the Karnataka Education Board, say they follow the necessary standards of education.
अल्लाह का शुक्र है कि मजहबी तालीम भी हो रही है और साथ साथ हिसाब भी, कंप्यूटर भी, इंग्लिश भी और हमारी मकामी ज़बान की भी तालीम दी जा रही है. ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं दिया जा रहा है.
According to the Karnataka government, 27,000 students enroll at Arabic schools in the state every year, but only 2,000 of them make it to the secondary school leaving certificate level. But many have put the onus on the state.
All the government spend money on its citizens. The citizens include Muslims. Hence, Muslims' share has to be spent on them. All the money which goes in form of taxes from the citizens of the country is spent on the citizens back after the expenditure is taken care of.
The opposition has accused the Mumbai government of targeting minorities.
If education is to be regulated, they should be regulated to all the communities. And they should not try to create a panic among the minorities. Karnataka state and India is a secular state and you can regulate education, but the law should be same for everybody.
So is the regulation of Arabic schools for the sake of improvement or is it a question of imposition?
And joining us on the debate, Ashok Goida, leader of the BJP. We'll be joined by Syed Shafiullah, leader of the JDS, as well as Bhavya Narsimha Murthy, spokesperson of the Karnataka Congress. We're also joined by Atikur Rahman, Islamic scholar, on the broadcast. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us on CNN News 18. Mr. Gowda, I'll come to you first. Can you take us through these complaints that your government has received when it comes to the quality of education in Arabic schools?
Yes, government has definitely received a lot of complaints from madrasa institutions as well as this Arabic institution of numbering 203 in Karnataka. That is point number one. Point number two is See, where did it start? Why is like, the some organizations, including Congress, are creating a recklessness? Let's understand what had happened through the history itself. See, in 1986, the Education Act was passed in entire India, which mandated certain funds to be allocated even to the minority institutions or Arabic institutions or to madrasas also for infrastructure and quality development of the teachers. And post that, what happened is in 2009, the right to education a law was passed in the central government saying that every child in India should be mandated to the education standards of CBSE. Please, let's remember this, because it's not just a 25% of the seats which are reserved for the deserving poor students or SC/STs or some other people, but as well as quality of education should be imparted with the standards of CBSE. This act was passed in 2009, and with that act, it stated that the central government had passed, whichever the institution is, it has mandated the government officials to visit the institution and make a survey and give a report to the state governments who were supposed to be in charge of this. It's the same thing in 2016 in Karnataka. State government of Karnataka, then Siddaramaiah being a CM, he had kept aside a 50 crores for the improvement of this minority-run institution, not minority ownership institutions, minority institutions like Arabic institutions or madrasas and the vagera things.
Right.
But till now, it was not passed. In NEP, what happened is, once we passed the NEP law, it mandated everybody to be on par with the NEP skills of units of learning. This is the main parameter. When it comes to madrasas or when it comes to the Arabic schools, the skills of units of learning is not imparted. This is the complaint which is the major concern for our state government. So with India being the first priority was also not thought. They think that for them, Islam is the priority. But apparently, all the institutions in India, we should all believe in only one concept, that India is the priority. With this concept, NEP has also mandated that every institution should follow the units of skill with India being the priority.
Right. So
that is where we are, if they can call it as imposition, but we don't go with the word called imposition. We go with improving the standards on par with CBSE, the law which was passed by then Congress government in 2009.
Right. So you're of the contention that Islam is the main focus in these schools and not the quality of education.
Whichever. We are doing a survey. We are not going to blatantly blame everybody. We are doing a survey. Whichever institutions which think like this, we are going to say it's an imposition for them. But whichever institutions is saying India is first, for them it is improvement.
Right. Atikur Rahman, that pitch coming in from the BJP that this is a survey to ensure that the quality of education in these schools is maintained at a certain level so that the kids develop properly, they develop at par with students in the rest of the state. What is your contention when it comes to this survey?
Well, there is no question of contention. The question is, this is one area wherein all Muslim forward-looking people were yearning for years that when should we modernize our madrasas and the education, the Arabic teaching, the students should come on par with the rest of the syllabi. The state government of Karnataka or elsewhere, if the BJP thinks that the madrasa education should be modernized, it's a welcome step, no doubt about it. The problem is, the contention is, we know the BJP time and again, its spokesperson, how they spoke, how they treat the community during electioneering. Point number one. Point number two is, if at all Article 26 and other articles guaranteeing fundamental rights to the minorities are intact, I do not think any madrasa official, any Muslim will be opposing. The right trend should be adopted by the state government. The madrasa officials should be taken into confidence. If you want to treat a community for the upliftment, you have to pull the community by its shoulders, not by its feet. You are going with a bulldozer. You are charging them with terrorism.
But what makes you say they're doing this survey is akin to a bulldozer? What makes you say that this survey is akin to a bulldozer?
Well, I am not talking of Karnataka. I am talking of elsewhere. How the
let's stick to
BJP
Karnataka,
Mr.
Rahman. Please, let's stick to Karnataka.
Okay.
I want to have a focused debate.
Objection. I don't have no objection. We can discuss Karnataka. Please build a congenial atmosphere with the officials of the madrasas. We will be giving you a thumbs up. Modernize them, but protect the minority rights as guaranteed in the Constitution of India.
Right. I'm also joined by Bhavya Narasimha Murthy, spokesperson of the Karnataka Congress. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us on CNN News 18. Your perspective coming in when it comes to this survey of Arabic schools. The BJP is saying this is a bit to modernize those schools, and Atikur Rahman is also saying that if you want to modernize, go ahead, but please maintain the rights of the minority community. Where do you stand?
So, to my knowledge, Education Minister Mr. B.C. Nagesh on August 24th asked for a survey of all the madrasas and later realized that it doesn't come under his jurisdiction. For the past 2 months, nothing was done, and now they are saying the Arabic schools, they're receiving complaint against Arabic schools. When it comes to scientific education, whichever school that is, if you have received a complaint, there is nothing wrong in surveying that. But it's not just Arabic schools. If you see, the government schools across the state have lost their standard of education. And I have no idea why he's prioritizing Arabic schools. If they have to do that, there is nothing wrong in it. But I would like to say the minister has to concentrate on all schools. And if possible, if he can include Anganwadis, which are in very, very bad state in Karnataka, where I have visited Anganwadis where rats move around while children are eating. Yeah, the state of, and I've made videos, I've got the media to cover the Anganwadis where there are rats in Anganwadis. Right. And schools are also in very bad condition. All the government schools, not just Arabic schools.
Right.
On one side, if it's the standard of education, on the other side, hygiene and the infrastructure also matter.
Right. So, Mr. Gowda, I'd want you to respond to that. The Congress is saying... Right. Right. Let's get a reaction from the BJP. Mr. Gowda, I want you to respond to that. The Congress, the basic pitch coming in from the Congress is that this is a targeted survey. You're not looking at education as a whole across the state.
Let me put this point that we are not going back or we are not doing a U-turn on the madrasa survey. That is point number one. Point number, with that, what is the point is, see, madrasas, what happened is in Karnataka, when it comes to 28,000 madrasas, none of them are registered under the Waqf board also. Only in 6 states in India, that is UP, Bihar, Assam, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and there is one more state to add. This is the only states where madrasas, all madrasas come under the Waqf board or there is a madrasa board. In Karnataka, what has happened is, it is registered in most of the southern states, it is registered under a private company, under Jamaat-ul-Hind. See, this is the problem. And because they are considered as NOS students, or they are considered as dropouts, or they are not considered under the education system, that is where all these madrasas also should be part under the education system according to RT. See, the people, Congress people, including their chief spokesperson or many people, I was just seeing in your own channel earlier that they're all misleading the minority people in Karnataka, including all the Muslims or any other people. See, that let's understand that according to 2009 Right to Education Act, every child born in this country has to have a right to education till they are 14 years, and it's a duty of everybody, including whether they belong to a Muslim child or a Christian child or a Jain or a Hindu, etc., etc. Everybody has a right to education. That is point number one. Point number two, coming to the education system in India from 1947 till 2020, it was a macular education system. It was a rote learning, and that is where the quality of education was so pathetic in India, and most of us were trained or educated like clerks. Yes, few of us have made it to larger scale. Why? Because of the zeal, because of the commitment what Indians per se have, whether they are from XYZ communities or the XYZ caste. That did not matter whether it is Narayan Murthy or Aziz Premji any of them. See, that is because of the Indian culture and Indian education system. Skills of units of learning.
That's fine. That's fine. You made your point. I think you made your point, sir. Mr. Gowda, you made your point. I want to get a perspective from the JDS now. We're joined by Syed Shafiullah, a leader of the JDS. Sir, your perspective on this entire Arabic school survey. The BJP has made it clear that it's a drive to modernize these institutions to ensure that children don't get left behind. Their entire purpose, especially after the new education policy has kicked in, is to make sure that all children get uniform education across the state, no matter where they come from, no matter what their faith. Your reaction?
See, just now I heard the BJP panelist saying that the parties are misleading Muslims and Muslims are being misled. Mm-hmm. He should not humiliate Muslims by saying that, because Muslims, there are 20 to 25 crore Muslims all over India. And for past 1,400 years, we are running madrasas. And the Constitution of India has given full right to everybody in India of belonging to any religion to give his children religious teachings wherever he wants. And it doesn't require any registration, or registration of any madrasa is not compulsory. And in case if any madrasa people want to take any funds or something, then only they go for registration. Otherwise, we start madrasa to teach our children our religious teachings. Mm-hmm. And now the government interfering into the teachings of Islamic studies. And what government is saying that they are not registered and no proper education and all that. How can the government people who belong to RSS and BJP measure the Islamic teachings more better than the Islamic experts?
So you're of the opinion there should be no oversight, no government oversight, or it's purely that because the BJP is in power, they can't oversee?
I am talking about the constitutional provision in our country. The Constitution gives full right to everybody to learn his religion.
But then who are the madrasa administrators accountable to, sir, then?
My dear sir, what is the accountability? See, the
health of the child, the education of the child, the welfare of the child.
First of all, the people talking about madrasas, don't know what is being taught over there and why it is necessary. And see, an elected MP has clearly said, Mr. Anant Kumar Hegde, that they have come to change the constitution. And how can they should respect the constitution? And
Mr. Sayed, don't mislead the people of Karnataka and
Mr.
India.
Mr. Gowda, I'll let you respond. Let him finish his point. Sir, go ahead, please.
See, Mr. Gowda is trying to tell that Muslims are being misled by various political parties. It is very wrong and it is humiliating to Muslims. Muslims know very well what is their religion and what is their religious teachings.
Mr. Shafiullah, I think you made your point. Let
me tell you one more thing.
Right.
See, all our children go to schools and take the education as per the government curriculum and as per the government syllabus.
Okay.
As per the proper government syllabus, they learn in all the schools, government schools and other schools.
Then there should be no problem with the survey, Mr. Shafiullah. Then there should be no problem with the survey. If education is great in Arabic schools, if all standards are being met, there should be no issue with the survey.
All the religious schools, not only Muslim schools.
Right. Okay. I want to let the Congress respond to this. Mr. Shafiullah, I think I've given you enough time. I want to let the Congress respond to this. Ma'am, please go ahead.
I would like to first respond to Mr. Ashok Gowda. The way he said Congress misleads Muslims. First of all, respect the citizens of this country. They can take decisions on their own. Second, why do you bring communalism and politics even in education? All I said was the survey happens in Arabic schools. That's fine. 2 months ago, they announced survey in madrasas, but that didn't happen. This is according to the facts. But now, what about the other schools? Instead of answering my question, he had to bring communalism over here as well. The BJP cannot survive.
But ma'am, the BJP made it very clear. This is for the entire education system at the end of the day. They've made that point very clear. We're discussing Arabic surveys, but the BJP has made it clear.
Well,
right.
I welcome the survey in the Arabic schools.
Okay.
But with that, these surveys, not just in the standard of education, but also the infrastructure and the hygiene and every other standard should happen in all the government schools. Because it's not just against Arabic schools that you get complaints from.
Right, you've already made that point, ma'am. Mr. Gowda, I'll give you 30 seconds to respond, then the final word to Atikur Rahman, please.
See, in fact, I am also running two institutions, two K-12 institutions. In my school also there is a survey conducted. I'm a private institution, not aided or unaided. So government people are coming to my school as well as doing their duty, and whether you want to call it a survey or they visit the entire school and write down and check the facts. So if that is a survey...
So please, he has 30 seconds to respond. He didn't interrupt you, please.
Do not
Mr. Gowda, please continue. We have the paucity of time. Please continue, Mr. Gowda.
Misleading the country.
Mr. Shafiullah, please let Mr. Gowda complete his point.
Do not mislead my country in the name of JDS or anything else. We are bound to improve.
Okay, this shouting match will just keep going. I want to give the final word to Atikur Rahman. Mr. Atikur Rahman, you see how the shouting match continues. But at the end of the day, the BJP is saying the entire exercise is to ensure that education is modernized. But of course, the opposition also making the point, this is a targeted survey. You have yourself said that you are not against any modernization drive. Then what is the reservation, and what would you want the state government to do when it comes to carrying out this survey in a peaceful manner?
In fact, there is no reservation. The only thing is the ambiguity which has been created in the minds of the community, that why are the BJP government not taking the madrasa, the Arabic school officials into confidence? Once they are being taken into confidence, a congenial atmosphere will be built up, and the madrasa officials will be inviting them to any survey they want. The scientific temperament education is the need of the hour. But here the constitutional rights of the minorities have to be ensured by the government that won't be changed, that won't be amended. The Constitution Article 26 stands very much intact. If you do not create this kind of a congenial atmosphere, there will be doubts, there will be a long standing between the government and the officials. It's a positive state. Be positive, sir. Come clean.
Right. So that's the pitch coming in from the Muslim camp. As Atikur Rahman is pointing out, that there is no opposition to a modernization drive, but at the end of the day, take the Muslim community into confidence, ensure that this happens peacefully and the rights of the Muslim community are not trampled. I want to thank everyone for joining us on this debate. We'll continue to debate this issue. Ashok Gowda, Syed Shafiullah, Bhavya Narsimha Murthy and Atikur Rahman, thank you for joining us on this debate. We're going to take a short break. More news and updates on the other side.